Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Keep Swinging. I know I say it every week about how we have such awesome guests on the show, but I think we may have outdone ourselves with our guest today. We have an Ironman, the first ever athlete with Down syndrome to complete and become an Ironman, Chris Nikic, and his right-hand man. He calls him uncle, best friend. He's an Ironman himself. You can call him whatever you want to call him, Dan Grieb. Boys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here, right, Chris? Tell him.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. And right there, you just saw it. If you're watching this on YouTube or you see any of these clips, the hug right there. I don't think I could find two people with more of a bigger heart than you both right here. So I believe that all the listeners and the viewers, once this is over, you're going to be feeling motivated, inspired, and go out and do big things. So off the bat, we know your story, Chris, about becoming the first athlete with Down syndrome to become an Ironman, but you're also a huge sports fan. So before we even get into this, I want to know, who's your favorite baseball player?
Jackie Robinson, brothers were taunting him. He had enemies on the team, and when the people on the bleachers were taunting him.
That's right. So Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball and did so much for sport as well as all of humanity. So it's so cool that you are such a fan of Jackie Robinson's, because you are having the same effect and the same positive effect on people and in sports right now as we record this interview here in 2021. So love to hear that. And also too, I want to know, who's your favorite basketball player? Who might we be seeing you courtside watching a basketball game?
My favorite basketball player is Luka Doncic. I'd like to be on the court side because right in front of me is a pretty smoking hot dancers.
Hey man, I'm sure if you showed up to a game, there's probably going to be a lot of those fans out there who are going to want to take a picture with you. So when you do see them, enjoy the moment when it happens.
Yeah.
People are going to take pictures with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Because
That's why.
living up to the celebrity.
You're a celebrity?
And the famous.
You're famous?
Yeah.
Okay. Back to your interview, celebrity.
Oh man. So Dan, you yourself, you're a 5-time Ironman finisher, so you have some athletic background. In terms of you and your sports interest, where does your favorite sports kind of rank in your world?
Well, I'm a big college football fan. I love college football. I had an opportunity to play for a little while at the University of Central Florida. I was a walk-on there and kind of got on the scout team, had a little activity. Never really did much there, but had an opportunity to at least make the team for a little while. And I'm a big fan of collegiate athletics because I love the pageantry. I love the passion behind it. I'm a big Orlando City soccer fan. Been a season ticket holder for probably 6 or 7 years now. But I'm a real big fan of Special Olympics right now too. Watching those that don't always have the best intellect or physical ability compete to the best of their physical and intellectual ability is so inspiring, and I really enjoy watching that.
That's right. So using that and your relationship with Chris, you guys make such a great 1-2 punch. It's just been so awesome to watch on television, to hear in interviews, and we're going to get into your guys' story right here. So what is behind this 1% better mentality that Chris created for himself?
So my dad created this 1% philosophy. He owns a big consulting firm, and he's the most trusted, coachable father I ever imagined. And the 1% is make it fun, simple plan, when to work hard, do everything with a smile, and make no excuses. And when I first started was I did 1 push-up, and then I increased every number. I went up to like 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I do rounds of something. And then by Ironman Florida, I did 200. And then I did that with Dan, and Dan's face was still red. And then,
My face was red?
yes.
I thought this was an interview.
We were doing 200 push-ups some squats, and your face was red.
My face was red.
Yes.
And how many push-ups and squats are we going to do before Ironman?
500.
500 push-ups?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
And then how many sit-ups?
500.
What? 500 sit-ups and 500 push-ups?
Yes.
And then how many squats can you do?
500.
500 of those too?
And his face would be freaking red.
Hey, stop it.
Strong as ever.
Hey, this is an interview, not a roast. Stop it.
Stop it, James. And his body would like go into chaos.
My body's going to go into chaos.
Yes.
All right, whatever.
And by heck.
You're a troublemaker.
Look at you.
Okay, so I got a hug for that.
Man, I love you guys.
So let me give you some clarity about Chris real quick so your listeners can hear. You know, Chris lives in the moment, and he has a disability called Down syndrome, right? It's an intellectual disability. It's a reality, right? However, that disability is also a superpower. Do you see how Chris, every time he's happy, he gives me a hug? This interview, I might get 10, 15 hugs. But here's the crazy thing. That's exactly what I need. We live in a world that's different than the world he lives in. I'm thinking about what I got to do tomorrow, the investment I make, you know, what I'm doing with my wife. What about taking care of my kids? What's my business doing? How am I performing on this podcast? I'm all over the place. You know where Chris is right now? Right here in this moment. He's only thinking about this moment. He's not thinking about the future. He's not thinking about the past. He's not keeping any records of wrongs against anybody. And this is fun for him. And when he experiences joy, he wants to share it with a human connection. When he's sad, he wants to share it with a human connection. And he wants you to comfort him with human connection. What would our lives be like if we just decided we were going to be more like Chris and start every interaction with a hug? When we were happy, we hugged people. When we were sad, when we hugged people. If we were a little frustrated, we started everything with a hug. Would the world be a different place if we just learned from Chris? So if the interview gets interrupted from time to time because Chris is hugging me, that's an indication that like something's going right.
More people should take note of that approach in life just in general, because like you said, there's so many things that are going on, whether it's yesterday, today, tomorrow, that you can easily think about. So being in the moment is so important. So a lot of people can learn from Chris and yourself just from that. And another thing that they can learn is the big wall calendar that Chris created for himself. That's something that people can do at home and help themselves. So tell us about this calendar that you have. I'm a huge visual guy, so I love and know that it works well from doing something similar at home, but just let us into your world a little bit with that.
So let's rephrase your question just a little bit. Chris, at the beginning of the year, you and your dad, you sat down and what did you do? What did your dad ask you?
He asked me to write down what I need to do.
He asked you to write down your dreams, right?
Yeah.
And what did you write down with your dreams?
So one of the dreams is to give independently on my own, to move around places with a car, and to marry smoking hot blonde. It's a concept of why is a woman with unconditional love, like my mom.
So you want a woman that loves you unconditionally, just like
Yes.
your mom? And what color is your mom's hair?
Blonde,
And what does your dad call her?
smoking hot.
And so you want one of those too?
Yes.
And you want a house like your dad? And you want a car?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, am I gonna Here's the thing. Like, those are great dreams, aren't they? His dream is to live a life of independence. Oh my God, big hug. And in that life of independence, he has his own car. So he can travel around and go hang out with his friends. And he has his own house where he can be proud of where he is and he can entertain people and have them over to his place. And then he has a wife, a concept, he says, of a smoking hot blonde, which is a woman that loves him unconditionally. Those are great dreams. My question here is your audience aware of their dreams? Can they literally speak them out as easily as Chris can? Like, Chris is not trying to be an Ironman. That was never his dream. That was his goal, right?
Yeah.
His goal allows him to realize his dreams. Like, that's important that we understand the differentiator here. Like, people think, oh my gosh, you know, Chris's dream was to be an Ironman. That was not his dream. His dream was to live a life of independence, and he saw Ironman being a vehicle for him to get it. His dad saw that too. So a year ago, his dad said, write down your dreams. He wrote down his dreams, and nobody coached him. That's what he wrote down. He saw how his dad lived, and he said he wanted that. Well, the last thing I want to tell you is, you know, you and I take for granted owning our own house. We take for granted being able to move around on our own. We take for granted the thought that we could have a wife that loves us or a husband that loves us unconditionally. Those are his dreams. Tony Robbins says, sometimes your biggest problems are someone else's dreams. Think about that. You're complaining that you only have $100 in the bank account. Someone maybe in a foreign country right now is saying, my dream is to have $100 in a bank account. You're complaining about your car breaking down. Someone else is dreaming about the opportunity to have a vehicle where they can get around town. You're complaining you can't afford your mortgage. Other people's dream is to have a mortgage that they can't afford. They can figure it out. Right, buddy?
And a friend once said, when you lose a job, lose any taxes, someone's got punched in the face. Like Mike Tyson said.
Like Mike Tyson said?
Yeah.
So Mike Tyson's quote says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Well, life is going to punch you in the face too. Like life is going to get difficult, right? And for you, you learned all of these skills of being an Ironman. So when life gets difficult, you're going to have the skills to overcome them because these skills are transferable, right? Great. Good answer. That was a great answer. I never heard an answer like that before. That was amazing.
I love that. I keep on getting the chills. I'm sure everybody at home right now is getting fired up. This is great stuff right here. Just getting the chills left and right. So this is actually a perfect segue. I have my iPad right here because I want to read this off because I don't want to miss anything, and I want to make sure that all this is factual. But Chris, 4.5 months old, you had a heart surgery. The first 5 years of your life, it was tough to feed yourself. In 6 years, you went to 7 different schools. There were 2 years you had ear surgeries. And in the Special Olympics early triathlons, you finished last. And then you meet the awesome dude to your left, Dan, at Lucky Lake. And you wrote something on the wall that made you want to start this Ironman journey. What did you write on the wall?
I wrote the wall, Chris World Champ.
Chris World Champion?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
The world champion? At what?
I did Ironman.
You did Ironman. You're being silly today.
I want a guide for the next Olympic longer distance, 33 mile. And I showed up at one of the meetings, and my love, human connection forces me to go and meet Dan. And I'm like, Dan, I want to do an Ironman. Unquote, Chris Nikic said, I want to do the Ironman because this other woman, because this other love, like my mom, was a smoking hot blonde hair who wants to adore me.
Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that.
Lucky I love you so much.
I know that.
So just to give everybody an idea, the type of heart that Dan has himself is that before we even started this interview, we needed another Zoom stream. So right away off the bat, volunteered to send a new link. So that's the type of person that he is. So now we have Chris matched up with Dan. Dan has the Ironman background. Chris is just getting right into it. And now you guys decide to train for this. There's so much training that went behind it. How much time went behind the training? And then let's get right to that day of the actual Ironman.
So Chris, how often do you train during the week? How many hours during the week do you train?
So I train for about 4 hours.
4 hours when? 4 hours and then 4 to 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. And then how many hours do you train on Saturday usually?
6 to 8.
What?
Yeah.
6 to 8 hours?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And then how many
I need
hours?
to catch up.
He trains 4 to 6 hours during the week and then 6 to 8 hours on average when we're at our peak training, obviously, on the weekends. And on Saturdays, we do what? Do you remember?
I think we did 100 my bike rides.
So the longest bike rides we'll do is 100 miles, correct? And then how many miles will we normally run in training, like on our long days?
Like 18 miles.
18 to 20 miles, right? So he'll do that in a week. Now, again, remember, a year ago, roughly 2 years ago, when he started training, how many push-ups could you do at one time?
One.
Just one push-up?
Yes.
And then how many sit-ups did you do? One sit-up? And how many squats? 1, 2. And now you're training 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then riding a 100-mile bike ride with your
Yeah.
Uncle Dan. And then you're running 20 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You're amazing,
Wow.
you know?
That is amazing. And before doing this, I saw a couple of Chris's posts on Instagram saying how he warmed up with a 90-minute bike ride. And I'm like, wow, he warmed up with 90 minutes on the bike. I'm trying to do 90 minutes on the bike to be just like you, Chris, and to just be like Dan, working hard every single day, just trying to reach my goal. And like you said, you started with 1 sit-up and 1 push-up, but with this 1% better mentality, you have been able to reach so many crazy heights. It's just so amazing. It's bringing a smile to my face so much right now, and I love seeing you guys smile and hug over there. So here you guys are. This Ironman starts. It's for anybody who doesn't know what an Ironman is. You're hopping in the water, swimming, and then after that, it's a 112-mile bike ride, followed by an actual marathon itself. So take us to that Ironman day. What was going on through your heads? Were you guys nervous? Were you excited? What was just happening in your guys' heads?
Saturday morning in Pemberley Beach at 4 a.m. in the morning. I woke up and I knew that my head feels like I already won Chris's race. I stepped on the course, I swim, and then got out, and then I looked at the time, and I knew that I was on time from the swim to the bike. And then on the bike part, around my 40, and the edge just water up to my ankle, the foot, and the groin. And then around my 50, I was going like 12 miles per hour, just a bump on the road. And I knew that I was going to get my bike into Dan's bike and just like, stop it, get away from it. And she kept going towards him. It's like, stop it, what are you doing? And then I knew that when I got back up, Dan was like, boy, why are you screaming like that? Stop sucking me like that. And then he's like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, Dan, I'm an Ironman. And Dan's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you know what I'm talking about? This story can change. Whether you're lucky or not, I'm going to be Ironman. And I got on the bike again. And I made the cutoff on time.
Something that's remarkable that you said about the beginning of the Ironman, and I guess maybe more so in the middle, around that 40-mile mark, is when you had fire ants going up your leg. A lot of people would have stopped at that point. But like you said, you looked at Dan, you said, I'm an Ironman. And then also, too, there's at one point in the ride a little bit further along, which you had mentioned, where you were going very fast and then fell off the bike. But then you continue to keep on going. So I want to say that is just so impressive for myself, for the viewers and the listeners out there, that you just had that strength to continue to go. And Dan, I'll throw this over to you. You guys are doing this together. You're guiding him. How important is it to communicate throughout this entire thing?
Yeah, well, we definitely had a plan that needed to be executed. And that's my job, right, is to get us to a plan and hold it there so that your listeners can understand. You know, Chris wears a tether in the water with me. That means we're physically connected by a cord in the water. So I have to swim him to a pace, and I have to swim him to a direction because it's difficult. Now, in the water, Chris and I actually communicate really well. I communicate better with Chris in the water than I do with most other athletes that I swim with, because Chris's intellectual disability is this idea, like, just you can see, I've got 5 fingers up on my hand. Our brains work like that. The normal brain is 5 lanes of traffic, and the traffic flows freely down all 5 lanes. Well, with Chris, he only has 2 lanes. 3 of his lanes are closed down due to his chromosomal issues. So therefore, he only has 2 lanes of traffic for information to flow down. But we're in the water, because there's not a lot of stimulus, all he's got is the swim and me. He actually communicates better. He's actually calmer in the water than most swimmers are. Again, people think that Down syndrome is a death sentence and that you're not going to amount to much. But when we've tested it with Chris, he's actually outperformed other people in some of those areas. I literally can say to Chris while we're swimming, and understand he's wearing hearing aids right now. He has a hearing issue. I can say to him, hey, Chris, turn left, and just point my hand. And he just turns left with me. A matter of fact, he's so calm and collected in the water. Oftentimes he'll say, okay, thank you. There is not a single athlete I train with that does that. And this is while waves are smashing him in the face, while I'm pulling him a little bit, while a lot of scenarios are uncontrollable for him. He's actually slowing down. His processing is allowing him to operate with low anxiety, which is the number one issue swimmers have, low anxiety and with great direction. So that's a key point for Chris. Now, when we got out on the bike, we had these things that happened that we could not plan for, like fire ants. Who plans for fire ants on a triathlon?
Probably nobody.
His dad and I literally planned for everything. I know his blood type. I know what he eats the night before. We know which hospital to take him to. We even have contingency plans that should a car pull out in front of Chris, how I would crash into Chris, and we would both go to the hospital with minor injuries instead of him going to the hospital with a major injury, getting hit by a car. Like, we have contingency plans of which hospital we're going to go to, what kind of blood we're going to give him. I mean, really, really big planning, but never what happens if we stand in an ant pile. Is he allergic to that? Like, that type of stuff. We know what his blood sugar can tolerate. I mean, all kinds of other things, but not that. And then obviously the bike crash. The bike crash was a major issue because, Ironman was watching us. He's the first person with Down syndrome to even attempt this. If he crashed his bike and gave up, that would be the end of it for everyone else with Down syndrome. There would probably never be a chance for many, many, many years for another person with Down syndrome to even attempt it. If he would have stopped right there, that probably would have been the end of the story for not just Chris, everyone else that wanted to accomplish this goal. Now he's like the Roger Bannister for folks with intellectual disabilities. There's already athletes training to beat him. And he had to power through that. And he had to power through the run and other issues. But, his dad is a very wise man. His mother is a very wise person. They said to me early on in the training, Dan, will you treat my child just like anyone else? And I said, absolutely, I will. Then they asked me this key question. Will you let him fail like anyone else? See, life, all the life lessons we learn in adversity and failure. And they want their son to live a full life. And a full life is understanding pain, happiness because you know sadness. It's understanding pain because you know success. You can't have success without failure. And they were okay with him failing along the way. Well, this young man suffered extreme adversity. When we had to wash him down and get those ants off him, I had him on me too. He had him a lot worse, obviously. We did not wash around his timing chip because that had to stay on per Ironman's rules. So we didn't take that off. We took his shoes, his socks off. We washed him down everywhere we needed to. Do you know this young man kept racing? Let's assume we were, 6 hours in, maybe 9 hours, 8 hours in at that point, maybe probably 8 hours. He raced for 9 more hours with ants continuing to bite him on that very spot. And when we got done with the race the next day and we evaluated him medically, he had these gigantic poison blisters only where his timing chip was. He had other bites on his body, but right there was a concentration of poison. This young man has dreams that he wants to see become a reality, and he would not let high winds, waves, bike crash, ants biting for 9 hours, cramps come in his way. Isn't that right, champ? So tell him about the run. So on the run, you hit the wall. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what mile were we at? Tell him what happened.
We were on mile 10. My dad came out.
Why did your dad have to come out? Because you did what?
I hit the wall.
And what does that mean? You started having what?
I was still having pain.
Pain where?
Everywhere.
Like the legs were killing you?
Yeah.
You couldn't lift them anymore? And your back was hurting? And what else did you say you had on your feet?
Blisters.
Like really bad, right? And so you hit the wall, which is very normal. Athletes always hit the wall. Normally you hit the wall around mile 20 on the run, and it's just questioning, like, why am I even doing this anymore? Your body is, every part of your body is saying, quit, stop. You've done enough. And you know what? If Chris had quit at mile 10, it would have been like an amazing feat. It would have been an amazing feat. The world would have said, oh my gosh, a boy with Down syndrome completed the bike, the swim, and 10 miles of the run. But we didn't. We called your dad out. And what did your dad say to you?
He pulled me aside and he gave me the longest hug, the human connection. And he said, son, it's a battle between the pain and the dream. Get a woman, get a house, get a car. Which one do you want? And then I said, the woman, the house, and the car. And he said, okay, you have one more loop. And he said, Dad, word for word, can you please trust my son to take him home and have his angels take over? And just like, yeah. And then my dad's like, okay, son, go and finish it. And I see the finish line. When I came in, I hugged all my family, peers, friends, my race day team. I knew I was in the moment. The moment that guided me was hugs. My superpower is hugs. My superpower is love. And the voice of Ironman, Mike Ronnie, he promised me when I crossed the line, he would give me the wife, the house, and the car. And he said, the dream is not about Ironman. The goal is to Ironman. His dream is to move around. He has a human connection. Deep down in his heart, to restore his soul to a woman who loves him and adores him. And when I crossed the line 2 times, my father said, Chris Nikic, you're not a man. Second time, he said, Chris Nikic, you're not a man. And then when I crossed the line, I was in complete shock at the moment. And then after that, I said, peace. The moment that I got hug my dad, my sister, I had peace in the moment to hug the mega person that says, thank God.
Good job.
That was a great answer, Chris. There's a couple of things in there that you said that is just absolutely awesome. One is that hugs powered you the way. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of hugs. That's almost like your speed boost in a video game that you'd play. And then also, too, you said when you crossed the finish line, you were thinking about all your friends, all your peers, Dan, everybody who's worked so hard to get you to this point, and you yourself to get to become an Ironman. So what is your message that you want to get across to everybody who's just learning about your story right now, or maybe who knows about it already?
My message is that it's not about failure. This message is not about abortion and the child can do anything. So my advice to the moms is that we need to stop listening to them and let the kids have a chance to go out to the open world. They need to know deep down in their hearts they could be like Chris. It's about giving them a chance to go out to the open world to show others what they're truly capable of. And my parents been told over the past 18 years, I was sedentary, overweight, and out of shape, and doctors, the experts, and the professionals said I couldn't do anything. And my dad's like, you need to stop telling my son that. And if you keep on talking and not talk like that, I'm giving my son out of this hospital. And we're not tolerate this because we're going to have him a chance to go out, have some fun, and make some friends. and to be around other people. When I first came out, I knew that I should overcome those setbacks. For a setback, I overcame the 5 months open heart surgery. I survived the ear surgeries. I knew I was going on a mission. The mission to becoming a Down syndrome athlete is to stand up for others who don't know what it's like to have Down syndrome. And Down syndrome is cognitive disorder. The key to success is giving them a chance to go out and be the human connection and to exercise, and to work hard, to start small, to get 1% every day, to smile, and make no excuses, so that way they can live a life of inclusion instead of living a life of isolation.
Good job.
Great job, Chris. That was awesome. And Chris, you made such a great point. Everybody deserves the same chance. And Dan, we've heard you say this before, that you should not limit anybody, any person that you ever come across. And this team right here is such a great example of that. So Dan, what have you learned from this entire experience working with Chris?
I mean, there's so many things I've learned. Obviously, I've learned a lot of things that were, Down syndrome related. Because a year ago, I didn't know anybody with Down syndrome. I was unaffected by Down syndrome. But then there are things you learn from Chris specifically, and you learn from his father as well, right? And their philosophy. So I'll kind of give you a couple of each. Number one is, for me, I felt very uncomfortable on my way into this journey because I was entering into a new world, a world that I've never had any experience with. I came in with a lot of misconceptions. One of the funny misconceptions is I thought that Chris was deaf and that he speaks a little bit funny, and I thought it was because he was deaf, and that if you had Down syndrome, you were deaf. That's not the case. Chris has some hearing issues that are related to Down syndrome, but not every person with Down syndrome is deaf. Another one is the reason why he talks a little bit differently is not because of a hearing issue. It's because some of his chromosomal issues gives him a thick tongue. So he has a bigger tongue than you and I. And so most people with Down syndrome have that. Well, for me, it was difficult because, I live life differently. And I had to learn how to live life with Chris. And I just like to say that, living in this world with Down syndrome and understanding Down syndrome has actually made my life better. And that's where I'll go into the lessons I've learned from Chris. Number one is I've learned to live in the moment. Most people with Down syndrome are referred to in some cultures as divinity. They see godlike characteristics in them because they lead with love. They do not judge people for the most part. And they're very sensitive to human connection. When we think of God, we think about this unconditional love, this Father from above that loves us for who we are, not for what we do. Chris loves me for who I am, not for what I do. He's always hugging you. He's always connecting with you. Well, that's a lot of folks with Down syndrome. Not everyone, but a lot of folks with Down syndrome. And he doesn't live in the future. He doesn't live in the past. He lives in the moment. He's not trying to judge it as right or wrong or good or bad. He's just trying to understand it and love in that moment. Those are things I've learned from obviously that. And then specifically to the Nikic family, what they've taught me is number one is you can accomplish anything in life if you'll just break it down to smaller bite-sized pieces. And that's called getting 1% better every day. Now for Chris, we started with a journey for Ironman, right? So getting him there. But his parents have been teaching him that his whole life. You alluded to this earlier that Chris couldn't eat solid foods until he was 4 or 5 years old. Well, they had to physically stretch his mouth and do manual things to help him learn how to eat. Well, they were getting him 1% better. They taught him how to read and activated him in society. That was 1% better. Now we've applied this philosophy to his athletic abilities, and he's gotten 1% better from 1 push-up to 200 push-ups, soon to 500 push-ups, from 1 lap to a 2.4 mile swim in the pool, from running 1 mile to running 26 miles, from not being able to ride a bicycle and taking, almost a year to learn how to ride a bicycle to riding over 100 miles at one time. Like, those are all 1% better things. And for me, I started asking myself, how do I become 1% better as a father? How do I become 1% better as a husband? How do I become 1% better as a business leader? How do you get out of debt? 1% each day, 1% better each day. How do you live the life of your dreams? We'll start walking towards it and understand that you're not going to quit on a goal that you're making progress if you just make a commitment to make small progress. It's when your goals say, I have to make this gigantic progress. I got into debt in 3 years, but I have to get out of debt in 1 month. And you get 10 days into it, you don't see that as being a reality anymore, so you quit. Well, people define success as the progressive realization of a worthwhile goal or ideal. Well, if we'll only focus on just getting 1% better, we'll see our goals or ideals progressively happening every day.
I'm so jacked up right now. You guys got me fired up.
He's fired up.
Yeah.
Because of you.
Yeah.
Get out of here. You stop it.
I don't know how long I'm going to go on the bike or go for a run or work out or anything. Or like you said, it could be anything that 1% better, whether it's something work related at home, being a father, just that 1% better mentality is so great. Everything that you have learned from Chris is just amazing. Just so appreciative of your time. You guys have such an amazing story. What is next for you guys?
What's next?
Kona,
When?
October 9th.
October 9th, you're going to do the Ironman World Championship? You? Oh, okay. Then when we do that, what are you going to do next? In Orlando?
The World Games
For what?
for USA.
For who? What's the name of what is it called?
Special Olympics.
World Games?
Yep.
In Orlando, Florida? And then what are we going to do after that?
Germany.
What are we going to go to Germany for?
World Games.
We're going to do the World Games in Germany?
Yeah.
And what year is that? 2022, is that right?
Yeah.
And then we've already got you also looking like you're going to do a marathon. Where's that?
New York.
The New York City Marathon?
Yes.
Chris Nikic is
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
So he's got that. And then when he's done with all of that, he is also a professional speaker. So
Yeah.
he's doing that. And what are you going to do after you're done doing Ironman with your Uncle Dan and running all those crazy races? What are you going to do?
I get married.
No, besides,
You
you want to get married right away?
Yeah.
So you're taking applications for a wife?
Yes.
So where do they send applications if they want to be your wife?
Smoking hot.
They have to be, okay, smoking hot means any woman to you.
Yeah.
That will love you
Well,
unconditionally
endorse me.
and adores you. But where do they send their applications?
To me.
Chris at chrisnikic.com?
No.
Where?
To Chris at Hunter Chelsea.
Oh, at my office?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, your office. Okay, got it.
Training partner and agent. That is
Hopefully they'll have me will I be the best man at your wedding?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
He has a best friend, Sam. I think Sam's going to get that spot.
And to make clarify this, please have your listeners to follow me on social media. Go to chrisnikic.com. And then if they want to accept my 1% clients, have them do that. And then make sure to tell them go to Facebook and watch the next 2 miles live on stream. And tell them to make a donation so that way we send them 1% t-shirts and GoFundMe page as Keir Williams, Chris Nikic, and Humpty Chelsea.
So what he just said there was, if you could, please follow Chris on Instagram. It's Chris Nikic, and you can follow me, D Grieb, there as well. And if you want to accept his 1% challenge, you could go to his website, chrisnikic.com. And lastly, if you'd like to take part in Chris's journey to Ironman Hawaii and you would like to help him financially, he has a GoFundMe page up where you can make a donation. He's got to go there multiple times with a team so that he can train for that, because this is one of the hardest of all Ironmen out there, and the Down syndrome world needs him to do well, to raise the bar.
Everybody definitely go do that. And Chris, have you listened to this podcast before? Because that's actually the last question, is to shoot out all your social media platforms and where people can follow you.
Yes.
Are you listening to podcasts?
Yeah.
You were listening to his podcast?
Boys, you guys are the best. I have a new favorite athlete. I'm sure everybody at home does. So, guys, thank you so much for hopping on Keep Swinging. And we cannot wait to see which goals you accomplish next and which dreams you live. So, thank you so much, Dan and Chris.
Thank you. God bless you.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching that episode of Keep Swing. Man, we have so many more awesome guests on the way, and I don't want you to miss any of it. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, feel free to go back and watch past episodes. And again, if you subscribe to the channel, that is the best way to find out who we are going to have on the show next. And if there's a guest that you want on the show, I will do all that I can to have him or her come on. So please leave a comment. Let me know who you want to see on Keep Swinging coming up. And also, too, feel free to leave a comment what you thought about the episode in the comment section below. Give it a like. And if you head over to Instagram, I'll be posting clips from all these interviews. Just a little daily inspiration. And there you can interact with me as well. Until then, have an awesome day and keep swinging.